You ever wonder what it's like to fly on a B-17? Well, that's what I'm going to do today. Let's go for a ride. This plane was built at Douglas Long Beach as a B-17G. It served in the 1st Rescue Squadron and Military Air Transport Service. In April 1952, it was subjected to the effects of 3 nuclear explosions. It was restored in 1965 and served as a water bomber until 1985. And in January of 1986, it was sold to the Collings Foundation. The B-17 is a 4-engined heavy bomber. It was developed in the 1930s, and it was first introduced in 1938 and became the 3rd most produced bomber of all time. It was relatively fast, high-flying, a long-range bomber with heavy defense armament, and it had a reputation for being tough. It dropped more bombs than any other U.S. aircraft in World War II. Yeah, we're getting a little fuel. We're going to fly on that B-17 real soon. Of the 12,731 B-17s built, approximately 4,700 were lost during the war. Those that had flown and survived went to boneyards for smelting. Most of the surviving B-17s were built too late to see active service and were used in the 50s and 60s in both military and civilian capacities. 47 of these planes survive in complete form, 11 of which are airworthy, and 40 of these reside in the United States. The first flight of Model 299 was on July 28, 1935. The day before that, Richard Williams, a reporter, coined the name Flying Fortress when he saw the large number of machine guns sticking out of the plane. He kind of described it as a 15-ton flying fortress in a picture caption. The most distinct mount was in the nose, which allowed the single machine gun to be fired towards nearly all frontal angles.
Well, he said if we needed help.
How about some specs on this baby? The first flight was July 28, 1935, the prototype. It's classified as a bomber. The wingspan is 103 feet 9 inches. The length is 74 feet 9 inches. The gross weight is 65,000 pounds. The top speed is 287 miles an hour. Cruising speed is 150 miles an hour. And the maximum range is 3,750 miles. The ceiling is 35,600 feet. It has 4 1,200 horsepower Wright R1820-97 engines. It can accommodate 2 pilots, a bombardier, a navigator, a radio operator, and 5 gunners. And it can hold from 11 to 13 machine guns and 9,600-pound bomb load. On December 7, 1941, a group of 12 B-17s en route from California to the Philippines was flown into Pearl Harbor. They arrived while the surprise attack was going on. Leonard Smitty Smith Huntston, the co-pilot, reported that he thought the U.S. Navy was giving the flight a 21-gun salute to celebrate the arrival of the bombers, after which he realized that Pearl Harbor was under attack. The fortress came under fire from Japanese fighter aircraft, though the crew was unarmed with the exception of one member who suffered an abrasion on his hand. The Japanese activity forced them to divert to Bellows Field. Upon landing the aircraft, They overran the runway and ran into a ditch where it was then attacked repeatedly. Although it was deemed repairable, it received more than 200 bullet holes and never flew again. 10 of the 12 fortresses survived the attack. One of the reasons that the B-17 was able to fly after being so heavily damaged is the fact that they had cables controlling most of their mechanics, whereas the B-24, when they got hit, they had hydraulics, and once you get a hydraulic leak, you're in trouble. In 1946, surplus B-17s were chosen as drone aircraft for atmospheric sampling during the atomic bomb testing. They were able to fly through the mushroom clouds without endangering a crew. This led to more drone conversion for testing surface-to-air and air-to-air missiles. 107 B-17s were converted to drones. The last operational mission flown was on August 6, 1959, as a target for an air-to-air missile. A retirement ceremony was held for the aircraft. It was used in various films and in the 1960s TV show 12 O'Clock High before being retired to the Planes of Fame Aviation Museum in Chino, California. Perhaps the most famous B-17, the Memphis Belle, has been restored to its World War II appearance by the National Museum of the United States Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Okay, now that we took off safely, we're allowed to unbuckle our seatbelts and climb around the plane. This was looking out the side gunner, looking towards the back. These are some ammo storage boxes. See those cables on top? They are what basically controls the rudders and all of the flaps and stuff in the back. This is why the B-17 was so much better than the B-24. It could take a lot of damage and still come back safely. Whereas the B-24 had a lot of hydraulics, and once you blew a line, you started losing control. These cables, from what I understand, if the cables were damaged, these guys were able to hook up a temporary fix to help them get back. That's pretty amazing in itself. Okay, we're doing a little bank. We're just west of Hazleton. You can't fully appreciate the roar of these engines. You have to be here and feel it, feel the vibration and everything else. It's just really cool. Okay, we're banking again. We're going to be heading easterly. That little line down there, that's Interstate 80. That's west of Hazleton, where we are. A little puff of smoke in the back, that's the nuclear plant by Berwick. And you can see our shadow. That was kind of cool. There's the nuclear plant again. That smoke there coming up in the background. Okay, as crazy me, I gotta stick my head out the top. Destroyed my hair, but that's okay. This was really cool. We're banking over Sugarloaf, Butler Valley. There you can see Sugarloaf Mountain in the background. This was cool. Right on the left there is Interstate 81. And just to the far left is the airport where we took off. You can see it. down here, this is the radio room where they had all their communication stuff. Okay, we're in the, I guess, the navigation / radio room. Isn't that a cool sight, looking out the window and seeing those props? I'm waiting in line to go up to the nose gunner bay. Of course, everybody wants to see everything. To get up there, you have to walk through the bomb bay. These, of course, are not real bombs, but when those doors were open, those guys had to be super careful if they were walking through here. Of course, you could see tiny little holes down there, gaps. This plane was cold. You know, there wasn't really a whole lot of heat in this plane. Could you imagine how cold it was when those doors were open and they were dropping bombs? Okay, up here in the nose gunner there were 2 seats, one for the gunner and one sitting here, navigating, charting, doing work. Cool sight. Okay, let's go look out the other side now. The sun is in my eyes a bit, but you can still see it pretty good. It's a tiny bit bumpy, but it's not too bad. You still have to kind of hold on to things to brace yourself a bit. There you can see the gun and where the ammo goes into it. There's a couple of boxes on the right side where the ammo is stored. Just one thing about this plane, the boxes that I showed you where the ammo is stored, they were just, they're tiny bits, just for show basically. When this plane was really fighting in the war, they had a lot more ammo. They had tons and tons of ammo. Quite the view, huh? Could you imagine looking down, seeing bombs exploding, planes crashing? Boy, what these guys went through, huh? Okay, let's go back. Here's a better view of where the bombs are, where you have to walk on that board to get up to the front. There's our wing. And of course, you know I'm going to stick my head out the top again. See the nuclear plant way back there, the smoke coming up, the steam coming up, I should say. Okay, I'm walking around the belly gunner area. This is where we sit, and we're going to be landing pretty soon. Take another view out the south window. That's the southeast of Hazleton. There's the gun. See, where we were sitting, there wasn't much room for the guys that actually flew in there. But there was a lot of ammo. Unfortunately, we couldn't go back into the tail gunner area because that's where the crew stores their stuff, cleaning products and personal items and all that. Okay, you see that big twisty gorge in the mountain? That's the Lehigh River, and that's the Lehigh River Gorge. It's a gorgeous hiking and biking trail. And those farms are just under the wing. Those are like all those tree farms down by Weatherly. Okay, we're gonna have to sit down in a few seconds because we're getting close to the airport. There's another picture of the belly gunners. Unfortunately, they can't open that up and let us in there. You can see where all the ammo was stored, all the bullets. And they just kept refilling those storage containers as they needed them. Okay, I'm holding my hand up now. We're getting close to Hazleton. Be landing in a few minutes. Did you know that at the time of the attack on Pearl Harbor, there were fewer than 200 B-17s in service with the Army? The B-17 aircraft went on to serve in every World War II combat zone, and by the time production ended in May of 1945, 12,731 aircraft were built. After World War II, the B-17 was quickly phased out as a bomber and most of the fleet was retired. The majority of them came back to the States and were sold for scrap and melted down. Okay, we're getting really close now. Not much farther. This is Harley and Melonsville, very near Hazleton, that we're flying over right now. There's that tiny little field, and there, right here, is Route 309. We just passed over, and we're going to touch down in just a second. Well, that was pretty incredible. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did. I only wish it was a lot longer. Thanks for coming.